everybody, and welcome back to another show of the Inovare podcast. I'm Roy Edwards. I have a great guest for you today. His name is Jeremy Spike Cohen. He's an American activist, entrepreneur, and podcaster. Spike grew up in technology. He owned a web design company, ultimately selling his web design business and turning his focus to libertarian activism. He is the current Vice Presidential Nominee for the Libertarian Party. Welcome in, Spike Cohen. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Roy. Roy, it's fantastic. I'm so happy that I can be on, and I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's middle of the week. I'm talking to you, having a beer. It doesn't get much better than this, man.
Life doesn't get better. You have as you put it, a great guest on, by the way.
That's right. I've had good guests mostly, but tonight is a great one. So first off, out of the gate, right? I need to be able to address you properly, and so.
Okay.
Jeremy Cohen? Is it Spike Cohen?
No, I go by Spike. Jeremy is my legal name, and we're sort of introducing people to my legal name because that on most ballots I will be Jeremy Spike Cohen, but on some ballots that only put your legal name, I'll be Jeremy Cohen. So we just, we wanted to not have a situation where everyone's like, yeah, Spike Cohen's great, and then they show up and they're like,
Who's Jeremy guy?
Yeah, who's Jeremy? So in order to, we let people know my legal name is Jeremy, but I go by Spike.
And so Spike like Little Giants Spike, or is this where's the Spike name come from?
Here's our first gotcha question from the mainstream media. No, so it's actually Spike. I've now keep in mind I named myself Spike when I was 3. So just remember what being 3 was like if you can. I was a toddler. We went to see the My Little Pony movie. Okay? Again, I'm 3.
Yep.
1985, we see the My Little Pony movie. I fall in love with the main character. I love the main character, Spike, the purple dragon, who saves the day in a really just kind of pandery plot device at the end of the movie. But basically saves the day at the last minute. And I'm like all about Spike. And so we're leaving the movie theater, and I tell my parents I'm now Spike. And this is a very libertarian story. They said, no, hon, you're Jeremy. Well, I insist on being Spike. My name is Spike. I want to be Spike. I'm Spike. And they eventually thought, okay, fine, we'll just call him Spike, and this has to be a phase. He'll grow out of it. I'm now 38. So it is sticking. I am definitely Spike moving forward. If it is a phase, it is a impressively long one.
Yeah.
Because I'm now well into early middle age, and am still solidly Spike. So that's actually where that started from.
Oh, I love that, man. Yeah. So I had a nickname when I was little. Didn't self-proclaim, although I did when I got a little older self-proclaim. I was Gizmo. So my parents called me Gizmo when I was little because I don't know. I guess they're probably in retrospect they're probably making fun of the fact that I had some sort of breathing thing. Yeah, they called me Gizmo from the little gremlin from the movie Gremlins.
Yeah.
Not as cool as
as
Spike.
soon as you said that, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. They became like my parents bought me the license plate and everything. They're really bringing it home. So
wow,
I'm a fan of nicknames. Big fan of nicknames. So
that's great. So they really tried to brand that was like a branding.
Oh, they were like, this is it. You're Gizmo.
This is Gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Like AIM. Back when that was a thing, when you chatted with people. Yeah, I was Gizmo. My car was Gizmo, and my kid is now like jumped into the action, and Xbox Live. We have Xbox in this house, and his username is Kid Gizmo. So it's just I can't escape it.
It's like
man.
Passing on the Gizmo torch.
It's like Gizmo Jr. or something. Yeah, it's just
love
a blessing.
It, yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
You bless him with the legacy of Gizmo. I love it.
This is your burden now. Take it and run. So in the intro, I talked a little bit about how you owned a technology company. So tell me a little bit about that, and we'll get into how you sold it. But tell me a little bit how you got into technology. Did you grow up within the household? I know that we're right around the same age, and I remember getting our first computer and how big of a deal it was. Even though all we did was play Oregon Trail over and over again, or Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but it was still a big deal. So tell me a little bit about how you got into technology, how you got into web development.
So I was always into computers. It sounds like our stories are very similar. I had the Nintendo Entertainment System when I was like 3 or 4. I just loved it. I was always into video games, always into computers, always into technology. And when I was young, when I was like 13, 14, my parents would let me do jobs during the summer, pretty much just to two things. One, to learn the value of, a hard day's work and the value of money, and to have a little bit of spending money. And, so I bust tables at some restaurants mostly. I did some stuff at retail stores, but again, these were short jobs. It wasn't a career. I was a kid and I was just doing some side stuff during the summer. The last summer that I worked for someone else, I did landscaping for one of my mom's friends, and that was brutal. And I learned a lot of really like constructive and good things from that. I learned that, I learned the value of hard work, and I learned how, creating deliverables and becoming an asset within a work culture made you high value. I learned that bussing tables real early, that if you wanted to get good tip outs, you made sure that you were Johnny on the spot with the servers who treated you nice, and maybe not quite so Johnny on the spot with the ones who didn't treat you nice, and then they learned to treat you nice. So I kind of learned some of the kind of, I guess, low level corporate culture stuff that happens. But one thing I learned is I didn't want to work for anyone else. I saw people who were in some cases twice my age or older doing the exact same thing I was doing at 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 for the exact same pay, sometimes a little bit more. And I thought, well, that's a dead end. And my parents pretty much said to me, listen, you're not going to just scrounge through life. You're either going to go to college or you're going to start a career, like a business. I didn't want to do college. I was not a fan of school. I did not like school. Very difficult kid. Again, very libertarian story here. Very difficult child. And did not like school. Didn't really see the value in going to school for 4 to 8 years and running up tuition costs and possibly student debt and whatever else, and then entering the workforce a few years later, into my 20s before I'm actually fully working and making money. And I thought, well, I need to find something that is disruptive so that me as a 16-year-old can feasibly offer this thing without people laughing me out of the room. I need to find something that allows me to work from home because I don't have the wherewithal to, and when I mean from home, I mean like my parents' homes, right. Like from my mom's place, basically, and be able to not, have to have a storefront. I needed something that did not require me to go to college or to get, all sorts of licensing other than just a, regular business license, and, something that could, make a lot of money. And I settled on web design. And so I actually did a little bit of mentoring under someone, just like a few days of kind of learning the basics. I got the software, and by software I mean text editor and FTP program. Eventually I got Dreamweaver. Got big time
fancy
towards
tools.
the end there. Yeah, exactly. I was using a non-color coded text editor. Yeah. And going on with initially starting off with just a dial-up connection and eventually getting a Ethernet connection, but learning firsthand how to make web design using the old HTML pre-CSS type of web design stuff that you would expect from the late 90s. And I went around to local businesses, and my idea was, I'm in a position right now where I have much more time than money, and I can actually afford to do stuff for free or next to nothing in order to build up my portfolio, especially since I was a kid. I wasn't even 17 yet, and I'm driving around in my 87 LeBaron and going to companies and trying to sell them on something they often haven't even heard of before.
Right, yeah.
And so I'd go to businesses and I'd say, hey, I'm Spike Cohen, and I'm here to sell you a website. They'd say, what's a website? And I'd say, it's a free thing I'm going to give you that can help your company. Most people would go, all right, fine. If you want to make it for me, that's fine. And so I'd make it for free. And, I had a little bit of cost in there with the, domain name and the hosting and things like that. But it was relatively minimal. And some people I'd even say, hey, listen, for the cost of, for basically $50, the cost of, the domain name and the first few months of hosting, I'll make this thing for you for free. And you can tell me if you like it. And that allowed me to create a wide and diverse portfolio of all different types of companies and all different types of industries and services in the local Myrtle Beach area. On the strength of that, I eventually had two things: a diverse portfolio and a busy schedule. So I had value and scarcity.
Yeah.
And so by the time I was in my late teens, early 20s, I already had a fairly successful, at that point, I wouldn't call it a business. I was self-employed.
Right.
I had a successful trade that I was engaged in that I was making money from. And I was able to grow that into something that allowed me to retire and focus on this 3 years ago when I decided that I wanted to pursue my real passion, which was spreading the message of liberty.
That's pretty amazing. I went through a similar. I was about 15 when I started developing, and
Okay.
Dreamweaver. I remember when Dreamweaver came out and thinking that it was the death to all web developers and being like, "What is this? Like, why am I clicking and dragging?
Everyone's gonna be able to make a website with this thing. It's color coded.
What is this?" Yeah, I started a Notepad because that's just what you used, right? You wrote it on a Notepad and you saved it as HTML, and then you prayed that it worked, right? That was
Put it up on an FTP program.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's how it worked. And so it sounds like even before you started the web development, you had a mind for entrepreneurship and a drive to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So do you think that ultimately, I know that you said later in life you decided to go into politics, but that's all kind of the groundwork, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur and being a politician is a lot of branding. Am I off here?
It's branding, it's marketing, it's having something that you are sold on and that you're ready to sell others on. And here's the biggest thing. It's the sheer audacity to say, my name is such and such, and I'm offering such and such, and you should get it from me instead of the other however many schmucks that are doing the exact same thing. Now, when I started off with web design, there weren't a lot of other schmucks doing it. I was one of a rare number of schmucks doing it. But towards the end, I mean, there were all sorts of schmucks doing it. And so, it's same thing with politics. Now there's an endless barrage of schmucks in politics. And what it comes down to is you have to believe in what you're selling. And in this case, I'm selling liberty. I'm selling the idea of taking power out of the hands of craven pandering politicians and the crony billionaires who have bought and paid for them to be in office, and putting the power back in the hands of the people where it always belongs. So removing the barriers and burdens that make it increasingly difficult for them to thrive and prosper. But it is ultimately, I am selling them on an idea. My old idea was your company would do better with a website that I made. And it's the same basic fundamentals. Is you have an idea that you believe will improve the condition of the person you are selling it to, or portraying it to, for lack of a better word. I don't want to use sell when talking about politics, but that you're trying to get them, I guess, bought into, for lack of a better word. And you have to have the audacity and the confidence to present it in a competent and confident way. And then you have to have the ability to meet them where they are, and you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to hear what their concerns are, not just them, but those in their group, in their trade, or in their identity group, or their coalition, or whatever else, and be able to reflect back to them what their concerns are. And then once we've gone past because one of my favorite phrases, I wish I had coined it, is no one cares what you know unless they know that you care. Once you demonstrate that you actually know their situation and care about it, then you can take them on the journey for how you'll be able to solve it. So it all feeds into the same thing. And I guess, it is sort of an entrepreneurial aspect to it.
Yeah, I love that.
And you have to be self-motivated too.
A little bit, huh? Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Definitely. Yeah. And so now I want to get into innovation a little bit, right? And so you touched on it a lot with your story there. Is part of being an entrepreneur is innovating and figuring out what your client needs and how to reach them. And so 16-year-old Spike, that's hopping in your car, knocking on doors, saying, I'll do this for you for free until you grow your brand, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are dealing with right now. And that's one of the messages out there is like, just hustle, man. Do it for free. Do whatever you can and try to figure out a way. Yeah, just to get it out there, right? Yeah. And so now now having heard 16-year-old Spike's story, I take it into 2020 Spike, and you partnered with a man named Vermin Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to talk about innovating politics, that guy is either crazy or a genius, and maybe a little bit of both. But the way that he, and I'll call it and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I'll call it the Trojan horse aspect to politics, where he gets this idea and this boot on the head, and he says, "This is who I am," and free ponies for everybody, and he drives this crazy campaign to get to their attention, and then backdoors you with a message. And so you have a front seat to this guy. So so tell me about the process of innovating politics, and what is Vermin really like that? Like, tell me about this guy.
Vermin is an incredibly he is a genius, and he's certainly an interesting character as well, but he's not crazy. And anyone who watched the debates or any of his when he sort of take the boot off and be Vermin the person as opposed to Vermin the character, you could see, he's not your run-of-the-mill guy, but he's not nuts. He doesn't think that he's a wizard. He doesn't think these things that he's saying, but he does that sort of with professional wrestling. You have to kind of be in character. You have to not give up on that wink wink nod nod fantasy aspect to it, because that's what draws people to it. We called it the boot pill method, and basically here's how it works. Something like 40+% of Americans who are eligible to vote do not vote. They do not participate in politics. These are the people that when they're at the Thanksgiving table and the conversation moves to politics, the very second it does, they get up and they walk out. They do not care. They don't want to hear it. They're disgusted with the entire system. They think all these politicians are lying. Really, they get it. All the politicians are lying. The system is not made for us. It's made for incredibly powerful people to rob all of us. We're all being screwed. There's nothing we can do about it. So these are people that if we could reach them with the libertarian message, they'd see, no, there actually are people who are trying to fix this. And we recognize and agree with you that this is, as George Carlin said, a big club and you ain't in it. And that, we're going to change that and put the power back in your hands. But you can't reach them by being a politician. If I show up and I go, "Hi, I'm Spike Cohen, and I'd like to talk to you about radical self-ownership," they've already shut me off. They already see the shtick coming a mile away. They don't want to hear it. And they shut us out. But someone like Vermin or George Carlin or some other satirist or humorist who uses humor to tell the message, that gets their attention. What is this about? This is hilarious. This is nuts. What is this? So not only do you get their attention and lower their cognitive defense, which is a big part of marketing in general, they already are skeptical of you. Find your way to lower that cognitive defense. And Vermin's way is through using satire. And so he brings them in with that satirical way of getting it. And now not only are they interested, not only are their defenses now not only are they not feeling challenged or pandered to, they want to know what the heck this is about. Why on earth are you doing this? You seem like a reasonable grown man. Why are you wearing a boot on your head? What's with the ponies? Why are you talking about zombies? And that's when we can hit them with the message. And so Joe and I are very honored that Vermin is using his method to bring people into the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian movement. We're happy for everything he's been doing to help this campaign. Joe and I are trying to change things so that this system isn't a cynical joke, so that this system does serve the people instead of the most powerful among us at our direct expense, so that people aren't disgusted and they do feel represented. And in the meantime, while they do not, there are many different ways to reach people, and satire is one of them.
I love it. I did some research on you and some of the things that you said in order to hit these marketing. It's very few people understand digital marketing, and
yes,
and when your opponents are 70-something elderly men, I don't know that they understand digital marketing either. And so, some of the things associated with Spike Cohen that I've found are Baby Yoda, cheesy bread,
yep,
Waffle House. And so how are you taking advantage of Baby Yoda to push libertarianism? And I know you just touched on it a little bit, but expand upon that.
And the badger.
And the badger, right. Yeah, sorry.
It's a badger. We don't explain the badger. It's literally just a badger. The Waffle House thing actually started as an inside joke. Some of my friends on Facebook were arguing over whether IHOP or Waffle House is better. And the joke is that libertarians, whenever we disagree on something, we form competing caucuses. And so I made a Facebook tag group called the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus. And it was a joke, like it was a stupid joke. And I put in the pictures of the people that were arguing as people eating waffles or some stupid nonsense. And people laughed at it. I went to bed. I woke up. It had 300 members, and they had appointed me the chair of the caucus. So it's a joke that just went out of control. And so now I've kind of fed it in. We're gonna have a Waffle House on every corner and all that stuff. So, yeah. So I'm that was a useful way to differentiate myself from the crowd, and to kind of show how one could be a bridge from a satirist like Vermin into serious messaging. Even back then, when I was still leaning heavy on the satire, I still was still overwhelmingly serious in my messaging, but I'd let that 20% fly pretty fluidly. We used to say Vermin was the 80% kidding or satirical and 80% funny, 20% serious candidate, and I was the 80% serious, 20% satirical or funny candidate. And it dovetailed well, but it was a way to differentiate myself, get attention, because up until that point, I didn't really do a lot within the party. I was in the libertarian movement, but I was operating in my capacity as the host of my shows, My Fellow Americans and The Muddy Waters of Freedom. And so and we intentionally marketed outside of libertarian circles to people, normies who hadn't heard the message, because we were trying to use entertainment to bring them in. So now coming into the Libertarian Party, a lot of people are like, who? Spike what? There are a lot of people right now who are some of my biggest supporters that a year back, they had no idea who I was. 6 months back, they had no idea who I was, some of them. And so I use this to kind of differentiate, get people's attention. And then I would say, hey, while I have your attention, watch me go to this housing project and convert dozens of people to libertarianism by empathizing with them, demonstrating that our solutions will fix the problems they face. Watch me go to this college campus and show liberal arts college students how libertarianism will fix the problems that they're facing, and how the politicians that are pandering to them with the ideas of taxing the rich to give them services they need are actually feeding into the very system that created the problem that they're facing in the first place. And so having done that, having gotten their attention, and then being able to redirect it to, look what I can do, again, deliverables, that got me the nomination. And I have been hitting the ground running ever since. Both Joe and I have hit the ground running, both online and in person, spreading a message of setting the world free in our time, which we believe our time is now, and also building a grassroots movement for human liberty, which is the most important part of this. We will win this election. When we win this election and future elections, it will happen as a result of building things at the grassroots level, a growing number of people who are disaffected by this system and who see no true alternative. And so they either don't vote, or they hold their nose and vote for whichever side they think is slightly less toxic and disgusting than the other. And then when they hear us and see that there's actually another way, one that intuitively makes common sense, then we can bring them in. But you got to get their attention first.
And so that gets into there's a lot more marketing going around in politics these days. And I don't know if it's the Bloomberg effect or the failed experiment of Bloomberg. I don't know what you
I was going to say the Bloomberg effect is that you can't make memes happen with money. It has to happen as an organic thing. This is a man who spent more money than any other presidential campaign in history. He did it for like 2 months, and he won Guam. He won in Guam. That's what he got out of it. To call it a miserable failure is, and this is a successful businessman.
Yeah.
It cost just over $500 million. Like, it was nothing. And there was this huge marketing of Mike Bloomberg. Every time I watched a YouTube video, Mike Bloomberg, and it went nowhere. Do you know why it went nowhere? There was nothing grassroots or organic about it, and you could tell.
Yeah.
And then when it was his time to shine, he blew it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
on
that
stage.
can be translated. That can be translated to business too. When he showed up on that debate stage, he utterly and completely blew it. He was not ready for the obvious questions they were going to ask him. He had no kind of narrative he was trying to build. He just showed up like, Yeah, I just spent $500 million. Everyone already knows who I am. What do you want to know? Sexual harassment. They signed a thing that they can't talk about it, and I personally think we should just keep it that way. Like that was like he had no plan at all. This translates to business. You can have the best marketing in the world that gets all the attention in the world, and if people show up and you don't have a plan, you have no narrative for why they should choose your services. You have no demonstration of how it's going to be able to work for them. You have no answers for the obvious concerns that they're going to have about you and your services that you should already know intimately so that you can address them as needed. If you don't have that, you can throw $500 million away and you'll get zero business out of it. It's much more important to have the fundamentals down. And then your marketing is just a great way to bring in all the fish you're going to feast from. But you can have 1,000 fish. If you don't have anything to process those fish, you're just going to get hit in the face with fish and have nothing to eat afterwards.
Totally. So I've heard you say this a couple different times, is that Ralph Nader and Ross Perot wouldn't stand a chance in today's system, and that some of the things that you're doing, or maybe you haven't said, maybe I'm misquoting you there, but you said that they wouldn't be able to break through in today's market. Maybe that's what I have written down here.
They wouldn't have been able to make it onto the debate stage, and of course Nader did not. And the reason Nader did not was because Ross Perot did. Ross Perot would not have qualified for the debates now. And there's a reason they changed it so that Ross Perot wouldn't have qualified for the debates. Remember, this is pre-internet. Yeah. So he couldn't do a viral campaign. What he could do was throw a bunch of money at TV ads and radio ads and use that as leverage to get on the media that he paid for ads on. So he got lots of interviews. And at first he looked like this kind of crazy billionaire with a high-pitched voice that didn't like George Bush. And that was why he was running. Turns out that's exactly why he was running. He never wanted to be president. He wanted to make sure George Bush didn't get reelected because he hated him. But so he spent this money, gets in there, and then what happens? Because the threshold back then was, I think, 10%, he made it onto the debate stage. Then what happened? It was him. What's that?
They raised it, right?
They raised it, but right? They raised it to 15. Here's why. When all the narratives were gone, when all of the advertising was gone, when all of the ideas of voting third parties, of vote thrown away, you have to vote, when all that was gone and all the American people were watching was three men on a stage, equal footing, George Bush, Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot, all of a sudden Ross Perot didn't look like this fringe little silly man. He made more sense than either of them combined. He suddenly sounded like the best option for America, which is why after the debates, his polling went up so that in some polls he was actually winning. And of course, then he dropped out because he never wanted to actually win. And then when his polling numbers went down enough where Bush might actually win again, he went back in. It was like literally he did all this just to stop Bush, right? But the point is, getting on that debate stage changed everything. It was an emperor has no clothes moment for the American people. Holy crap. Ross Perot makes way more sense than these other two schmucks do. We will have a similar thing. When we can get that 15% and get Jo Jorgensen on that debate stage and have her stand in between two men who can barely form a coherent sense between them and who are emblematic of every single thing that is wrong with government from both the Republicans and Democrats, and instead the American people will see the choice of a brilliant self-made entrepreneur, a woman who's ready to lead from day one, a brilliant orator who is able to break down case by case and point by point how Biden and Trump and their respective parties have created the problems that we face and how our common sense libertarian solutions are the way to fix those problems. I think it'll be a no-brainer. I think that she will walk away with it.
So how do people get involved? How can people help your campaign?
Well, specifically with that, encourage people to say, if they get contacted by an opinion poll, just say you're voting for Jo Jorgensen. Even if you're not going to vote, even if you don't know who you're going to vote for, just say you're going to vote for her. You can always take it back and vote for whomever you want. But just so she can get on the debate stage, just so she can get that 15% she needs to get on the debate stage. Just say Jo Jorgensen, Jo Jorgensen, Jo Jorgensen. Just tell anyone who will listen. If you get called by an opinion poll, say Jo Jorgensen. And of course, we're doing plenty on our end to make sure everyone knows that that's what needs to be done. Just say Jo Jorgensen. That gets her to the 15%. We can get on that debate stage and change everything. If you like what you have heard and you want to hear more, you're interested more about the actual policies that we have, I invite you to go to jo20.com. That's JO20.com. And if when you go there, you hear about us, you look at what our policies are, I invite you to go to my social media. If you look for Spike Cohen or Joe Jorgensen on any social media, on my YouTube, on my Facebook, on my Twitter, anywhere else, you'll find us. And if you like what you hear there, if you like what you see, then I invite you to go to our website and to fill out our volunteer form. We are building a grassroots liberty for a grassroots army for human liberty. We are fighting to set America free in our time, and I believe that our time is now. And I greatly appreciate your time today, Gizmo, and thank you for having me on. And I didn't know if you have any more questions. I'd be happy to answer one more, but I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk with you and your audience.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I guess I do have one more in closing. One that
Sure.
I get a lot is, you know that if you vote third party, and I'm quoting now, you know if you vote third party, they're not going to win.
Right.
So you're throwing away your vote.
Throwing away your vote. Yeah. So a vote thrown away is voting for people who created the problems and made those problems worse. And every 4 years they show up and go, I know what you're thinking. He created this problem and made it worse. Yes, I know I did. But if you vote for me this time, I'm going to fix it. I know I'm not fixing it now. I'm actually continuing to make it worse as I talk to you. But this time, if you vote for me, I'm going to fix it. And frankly, if you don't vote for me, you're going to get this guy over here that I work with every day to make your problems worse. That is voting. That is throwing your vote away, is voting for the people who created this problem together and then pretend that they're opponents and that you have to choose from one of them, or else things are going to continue to get bad under them. Voting third party, voting libertarian, is a vote to say, no, you both suck. My options keep getting worse. This is diminishing returns as policy. And until we start voting for other viable options and making those options viable by voting for them and supporting them, we are going to get better options by voting third party and voting for libertarians who have common sense solutions to the problems that we're facing. They have demonstrated that these solutions work and that they will fix the problems that we are facing from the Republican parties. That is my answer to that, is that, voting for the people who made these problems together and pretend that they're fighting against each other, that's theater. It's not working. Stop throwing your vote away. I had to stop throwing my vote away. Mm-hmm. Let's stop throwing our vote away and let's vote libertarian.
Amen. Thanks, Spike. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. Everybody go to joe20.com. Fill out those things. Donate. Get a little yard sign. I got mine hanging right underneath my American flag right out front. So,
thank you for your support.
Yes, sir. Spike, thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And good luck in November, buddy. Hope to see you guys on that stage.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So, guys, you can listen to all of our shows, this show, last show, any show. You can check them out on Spotify, iTunes. You can go to innovarepodcast.com. I believe we're on YouTube somehow. Check it all out. Until next week, guys. See ya.